Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ole Walls. Let's get fucking listening, baby!
That's college football. Hey. Welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man, Ole Walls. And I'm back with you for episode number 87 of Ole Walls House, coming your way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. It's a full episode, full recordings, nothing pre-recorded. We are live, essentially, here. So good to be back with you. Welcome to Ole Walls House. Glad to be back to normal. So first of all, thank you to everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making it through the crazy weeks there. So thank you. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate producer Kevy. So thank you, everybody. Quick housekeeping, as you know, if you guys could, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, share. Let somebody know about Ole Walls House. Let them know. Fun episode coming your way. Like I said, full episode again. MJ's back for part 4, the completion of the NFL preview series. We do AFC North and NFC North this week. I talk some college football. Gosh, I was struggling there. Some college football, some Guardians baseball. No golf talk really this week. We're going to dive more into golf here in the next couple weeks when we get closer to the Ryder Cup. And my passing thoughts, as always, are coming your way. So before we get to that, let's talk about a sponsor here. Liquid IV. It's festival season, as those in Burning Man know. But more importantly, it's hydration season. And Liquid IV is the way to do it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you've got a convenient packaging. I love that convenient packaging. And all your different flavors. We've talked about them. Sea berry, strawberry lemonade, Concord grape, lemon lime, pina colada, tropical punch, watermelon, strawberry passion fruit, guava, and acai berry. Get you some Liquid IV. If you need 20% off, that's promo code OWH. Remember, 1 stick, 16 ounces of water, 2 times faster hydration than water alone, 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and of vitamin C, 3 times the electrolytes of sports drinks, made with premium ingredients. It's non-GMO, non-gluten, non-dairy, and non-soy. So here's what you do. You go to liquidiv.com or the link in the show notes below, and you get yourself 20% off by using promo code OWH. That's O for Ole, W for Walls, H for House. Promo code OWH. Liquid IV. Better hydration. Starts now. Let's get to the show. For one last time, MJ is back. Part 4. We complete the NFL preview series. MJ, it's actually the first time we've talked in a while. We recorded most of the other ones before I went on my trip around the world. So MJ, good to have you back, man. Are you excited to get this little project of ours wrapped up? We got two pretty interesting divisions coming your way today. So good to have you back, MJ. And just overall thoughts on our little trip around the NFL.
I was actually thinking of that today and how we've kind of pre-recorded stuff, and it's been a couple weeks now, really, since we talked. Even though it doesn't feel like that to the listeners, but it was interesting to see some of the changes that have gone down, whether it be trades or free agents, like Zeke Elliott's now a Patriot. There's been some things that have popped up. What I thought was interesting, too, is we talked about the East the first week, and there's no backups for Mac Jones now. Well, there is. They just signed somebody, but they got rid of both their backups. And I kind of mentioned a few weeks ago how I was kind of ready for Mac Jones to be out of there, and maybe this is a sign that they're going to just ride with him. So a lot has changed in a couple weeks, and I'm just super excited. I mean, I'm in a fantasy league with you, Wally, and we got our draft tomorrow night. I'm super excited. I'm ready for Thursday. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, as we record this Sunday, we are just 4 days away from the NFL. I feel like I got just the tip this weekend with college football. And that was fun, and that was awesome, but there's nothing like that first Sunday of the NFL season. You just sit down, you get the red zone going on one channel, and you get your team on another channel, or the big game, or it's different, I think. So I am super, super excited. And we've got two pretty fun divisions to talk about, like two divisions that are pretty up in the air, I think. So let's get diving into it. Let's go AFC North to start. This is a very interesting division. I think a very good division. And there are some question marks in a couple spots at QB, I think. One place has no question marks at QB, but he has that being the Bengals. But Joe Burrow, again, with another summer or offseason, whatever you want to call it, that he doesn't get to just have a free offseason. He has the calf strain this year, and just continues with what was it? Last year was the removing the appendix, and then the year before that was the knee. So with all that going on, I would have to think you're thinking Bengals are the favorites for this going in. Do you think they just kind of ride with that like they have the last couple of years and just keep rolling? Or do you see someone else coming for the throne?
Yeah, I mean, I do have them winning the division. I actually have them slightly under their win total. I have them at 11.5. So I had them winning 11 games. But you're right. Yep. I mean, I'm probably just the way it sounds, the way you're talking, I'm a little higher on Lamar Jackson. I think he could really turn some heads this year.
He was the one I didn't mention it. The two question marks I have at QB were the Steelers and the Browns.
Yeah.
I kind of left Lamar out of that. I think Lamar, I think we know, I think we figured out what Lamar is. Like, I think we know what we're going to get out of him. Like, he's going to be huge production. He's going to be a huge threat on the ground. He's going to throw it pretty well, but he's not an elite thrower, I don't think. Now, hey, maybe he makes that step this year and adds that. But I don't think he's an elite thrower. But, I mean, I still think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do have two top 10. At least I think Joe Burrow's probably a top 3 in the league, right? And that's where I lean. I think, like, when I was looking at the rosters of all the teams in the division and just trying to look back at some of their preseason stuff that's been going on or whatever, it almost felt like the Bengals are in that sweet spot of they got Joe Burrow, MVP caliber quarterback. They have some really nice weapons that I think in maybe a year or so you might see one of those weapons maybe leaving, for more money or something like that. But they're in that little sweet spot, and I think this is the year where they could really try to make that Super Bowl run. And I'd be happy for them. I'd be happy for Joe Burrow, and I think they win the North by a game or two. And I will say, if you are kind of a Steelers or Ravens or Browns fan, I think there is hope in the kind of fact that the secondary and some of the defense in the Bengals isn't, I don't think, the best it's been in these recent years. So there is a little bit of a weakness. And then if you throw in an injury to Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase or something, this is such a good division and such a good conference like the AFC is. It can really get turned bad quick and really good quick. So but I got the Bengals at 11-6.
Yeah, you talk about sweet spot for the Bengals. Joe Burrow's contract, this is his last year at like the rookie rate, if you could call it. $11 million cap hit this year. That flies up to $29 million next year.
Yeah.
And they're going to probably get that's just the rookie deal where it's got that 5th year option. They'll probably get something done at some point this season, you'd have to think, or that extends that, or at the very end of the season. So, his, like you said, it's the sweet spot. Like, they've got the money around to fill out the rest of the roster, which is kind of the formula nowadays. Is hopefully you get that rookie quarterback to hit and you can make a run while he's on that and find out what you got. The Steelers are an interesting one, I think.
Yeah.
I think they have the lowest over-under win total, 8.5. But I think they have more upside than the Browns. And they finished 7-2 last year, so like kind of have some good vibes going. And I think this is one that all kind of boils down to Kenny Pickett. Like, can Kenny Pickett improve and become a better quarterback this year than he was last year? What are you thinking there? Do you think are they matching the win total, or are they sneaking over, or are they going to just fall just under it?
Yeah, I mean, I have them over their win total. Their win total is 8.5 as of today. At least that's what I saw. And I have them in second place in this division. I have them at 10-7. And I have so much respect for like really all four of these teams. Maybe not so much the Browns, but those to me the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens they're really good. And if I kind of believe Kenny Pickett might play good enough to get this team where it needs to go. I like, their running backs are okay. They have some weapons on the outside. Like their defense is always going to be really good with TJ Watt, running quarterbacks down. And, an underrated stat is when he plays, they win a lot of their games. He just needs to stay healthy. And to me, it's the Steelers are kind of that underdog this year, and I don't really understand why. Mike Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. They turn their teams around pretty quick. I don't necessarily love Kenny Pickett as a quarterback, but I like what Mike Tomlin in that organization has done over the last 2 decades. And I'm going to go with the last 2 decades, and I'm going to ride with them a little bit this year. As a Cowboys fan, I don't like it, but I think they could be really good this year.
Steelers record without TJ Watt since he's been on the roster, but when he doesn't play, 1-10.
Yeah.
I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah. And it's completely opposite when he plays. They're winning 70-80% of their games when he's playing. It's a crazy stat. I know I saw somewhere at one point, but
let me see if I can get. See if I can find it. This is November 17th of 2022, so this is pretty old.
And while you're looking that up too, I could make a case for the Steelers to win this division. I can make a case for the Bengals. I can make a case for the Ravens. I'd have a harder time with the Browns.
Yeah. But I think the Ravens, you can make a case for them pretty easy. They lose. They bring in Zay Flowers and Odell. And Odell's not the Odell he was with the Cowboys, but I'm sorry, with the Giants, not the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you thinking of the Cowboys. But he's still a solid guy, and seems to have his head on kind of straight lately, and not freaking out and shit like that. So, and like we said, Lamar Jackson is very good.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what you think about them and the 10 numbers, what I'm seeing for their win total, but
yeah. I had them in third at 9-8. It was difficult, man. It's a tough division. I will say, I think what helps a lot of these teams in the AFC North, they do play the AFC South this year, which is kind of, they got the Jags, but there's some winnable games. I would assume everyone is, thinks anyways. And they do play the NFC West, which the NFC West is good. But they also have a couple teams. You don't know what the Rams are going to be like. You don't know. There's a few teams that are kind of very winnable games, especially for these really good teams. So I think that's probably why some of these win totals are so far up, is because they do get to play a couple kind of shitty teams, I think.
Yeah.
So
what do you think of the Browns? Deshaun Watson, this will be his first full season in 2 years?
Yeah.
He played 6 games last year after missing the season before. Is that correct? He did miss the season before, right?
He got suspended, right?
It was a full season suspension, and then he was out the first 11 last year, right?
Yeah, it was something like that. And I don't know. Do you have it on there?
Yeah, he did not play any games in 2021.
Yeah.
He played 6 games last year in 2022. So, it's been since 2020 that he's played a full season.
And I just
didn't play great last year.
Yeah.
Understandably.
I have a bad taste in my tongue for Deshaun Watson a little bit, and not even just off the field stuff. It's more like, and this is just me complaining as a Cowboys fan, so I'm going to kind of rant for a second. But, Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott have been in the league for a very similar amount of years now, and for some reason, Deshaun Watson is just this top 5 quarterback, even when he doesn't play. He's always in trouble. And he's always one of those guys that everybody throws in as he's phenomenal. Well, how do we know he's phenomenal? Because last year he didn't look it, and in years past his teams have been bad. Even though he's performed okay, his teams are bad. So, to me, it was one of those things where I'm I could name 3 or 4 other quarterbacks that I'd take before Deshaun Watson, and the the experts on TV will tell you that he's a top 8 quarterback, and I'm just mind blown by that. So I do have a little kind of I don't know what to call it. I just don't love him.
Yeah, so Deshaun Watson came in the year after Dak, so very close, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play a whole season. Dak missed most of one season. Deshaun Watson is 31-28 overall. Dak is 61-36.
Yeah, I don't mean to throw off our AFC North talk, but it's one of those things that it has a lot to do with why I have them finishing last. I just don't know if he
similar
gets the job
completion percentages.
Yeah.
Dak has more TDs. It looks relatively similar. I mean, they're relatively similar numbers across the board. Like I think that, which is kind of the point you're making.
Yeah.
Is that they're similar numbers across the board, and with Dak, you don't deal with the bullshit off the field. You get a guy who's been a better winner. He's probably had better teams around him, but still the better winner, and he plays.
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from.
And I'll tell you, to just go back to the Browns as a team, though, man, they're over under at 9.5 wins.
That's a lot.
Like, do you really think? Like, I do not think this team, the Browns, gets to 10 wins in the AFC North, playing AFC teams. Like, do you see something that I'm not seeing? Because I see this team as an 8-win, maybe.
Yeah, they've got some tough teams that they got to play. Obviously, their division, the Bengals are in their division, the Steelers, the Ravens. They got to play the Jets. They got to play the Jags. They got to play the 49ers. The Titans aren't world beaters, but that's another solid team. The Cardinals are going to be trash. That's nothing. The Rams and the Broncos, who knows, but those are road games. So, maybe one of those teams is it's not an easy schedule. The Texans are another shitty team, but there's 2 shitty teams on this, and other than that, they're in dogfights, I think.
Yeah, and that's I feel like the AFC in general has that schedule. Like the AFC in all honesty is really, really good, and I just can't see the Browns getting to 10 wins. I mean, that's one that I kind of like as an under bet.
That was one I circled as an under as well.
Yeah.
I was like, the Ravens, I'm staying away at 10. The Bengals, I'm probably staying away at 11.5. Steelers, I just don't know because I don't know what you're getting out of Kenny Pickett. But I saw the Browns, and I was like, 9's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, Deshaun Watson has not played a full season since 2020. That was 3 fucking years ago that he did that. So I'm not ready to jump on the Browns bandwagon at all.
And they could surprise everybody. They really could. I mean, their roster is good. The roster's good. Nick Chubb's fantastic. Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I love Elijah Moore. That was a good signing for them. David Njoku is a very capable tight end. I think that can really stretch the middle of the field. Their defense has some good players. They brought in Zadarius Smith for an edge rusher. Mm-hmm. They still have Denzel Ward. They got Juan Thornhill back at the safety spot. Greg Newsome, the Northwestern corner there that they drafted last year. They have some good
Myles
pieces.
Garrett.
Yeah. I was just kind of naming the maybe the not so popular ones, but
hey, let me get the fucking easy ones here. Don't fucking take all the good stuff from me.
I got to see Deshaun Watson stay healthy, and I got to see him put a year together, and I just haven't seen that. So,
yeah, I'm with you. That's kind of most of everything, just kind of running through it. What do you like for the fantasy options? Players to look for, players to avoid? Let's kind of touch on those real quick.
Yeah. I listed the guys that I like, and when I say I like them, I know I didn't really clarify this, I guess, the last 3 weeks or whatever, but I like where they're being drafted.
Yeah.
So if I say I like somebody, and they're typically I'm not saying I like Kenny Pickett this year, but I like him really late. You waited on quarterback and all of a sudden now they're all gone. I think that could be a sneaky. He runs a little bit. He's in the same offense with some better weapons this year. I think that. Deontay Johnson, I think, could have a really nice bounce back year for Pittsburgh. The tight end, Freiermuth there, could have a really good year. I love Lamar Jackson in fantasy, like a third, fourth round draft pick right there.
Hard not to love him.
Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, Mark Andrews, I think could be a sneaky tight end one in all of fantasy this year. And of course, Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. But my sneaky one, my biggest sneaky one for fantasy this year, who I love, is Zay Flowers. I love Zay Flowers. I loved him coming into the draft. I wanted the Cowboys to take him.
I tried to get him in both of my drafts thus far, and it didn't work out. And I was kind of pissed because I was like, I would love to snag this guy because I just think he's going to be the dude that he may not walk away with a ton of like yards and touch. I think he's going to get some touchdowns because I think you have to score a bunch of points in fantasy. But I don't think at the end of the day you're going to be like, holy shit, his stat line was out of this world. But it's going to be like, 6 catches, a TD. Like he's just going to produce. I feel like I don't know why. I don't have anything to back it up, but I just see him and I see that offense and I'm like, there's room for him, and he's going to fit right in.
And he's so shifty and so athletic, and he's got that, like I said, like that dog in him, man. He'll try to run guys over, and he's not an oversized wide receiver, but he'll run you over. He'll talk some shit. I love his attitude. And just for to get out of the fantasy real quick, I love Zay Flowers' most regular season receiving yards for rookies at plus 950.
Okay.
And I love the little sprinkle of offensive rookie of the year. Plus 1,600.
Damn, that's nice.
And
I can't believe he's getting that much.
We talked about Bijan Robinson, a couple weeks ago, how I think maybe he could be splitting some carries. There's some other rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think could be in that running, but he's going to be splitting carries with David Montgomery, which we'll talk about in the next little segment there. But Zay Flowers, man, he's my guy. So I might throw $5-10 on a Zay Flowers rookie of the year offensively.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, obviously, you avoid the quarterbacks is kind of the big thing. If you avoid the Bryce Youngs, the Richardson, the C.J. Stroud, who are all right up there. A couple other guys you mentioned, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba, but he's right there. Jordan Addison's kind of ahead of him, but that's it. Those guys I've named.
Honestly, Wally,
that's some good numbers for him. I'm seeing him as high as plus 2,000 here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Jordan Addison soon.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good bet too. If guys are, looking to throw a dart at somebody, but Smith and Jigba, he's in Seattle. He's got some other guys around him, DK taking stuff. Mm-hmm. I think Zay Flowers could be the best receiver in Baltimore all year long.
I was just going to say, do you see him being, wide receiver number 1 for them?
Yeah, I think
the end of the year.
Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers by the end of the year, just slightly under him. And I think Odell's going to help him, and Rashad Bateman's still pretty good. But I love the Zay Flowers, just kind of throwing him in there to maybe see if he can make a couple bucks. He's my guy for this division, man. I like him a lot.
Perfect. Any other bets for the AFC North?
Yeah, you can get plus money for the Bengals to win the division. I don't think it's a terrible bet, plus 150. As we talked about, the under 9.5 wins for the Browns. And I like the Steelers to make the playoffs at plus 128. I think that would be a nice little flyer to put in there too. So those are the ones that I liked a lot.
Cool. I like those. I don't love the Steelers, but if you're getting plus money on it, it's not a bad thing to take a little flyer on. Anything else on the AFC North before we head over to the main event here?
No, man. I will say, just to quickly go back to fantasy, though, I don't love the Baltimore running backs. I know I just talked about a bunch of Baltimore receivers, Andrews and Flowers and all that stuff, but I don't like the Baltimore running backs in fantasy, so I'm staying away from them tomorrow night. So if you want J.K. Dobbins, you got him, Wally, all right?
No, I feel like Lamar can eat up too many yards, can eat up too many red zone touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I don't love getting – if, J.K. Dobbins is, there for me, kind of later than expected, I'm going to snag him up. But I'm not going I'm not reaching for them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I need a beer for this this next the NFC North part. I finished my other Busch Light here. So,
Okay.
just start up. Just start ripping, buddy. I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
Let's rip. So this is my podcast right now, everybody. So we're going to dive right in. NFC North. I was talking to Wally before the pod started, and my biggest takeaway was like it's a weird division. It's a very unknown division. There've been a lot of changes with most of the teams, and some teams that I feel like people are saying are going to make these big leaps or big drops. And I kind of felt like even when you look at win totals, I think Vegas is even a little confused on what's really happening in the North a little bit.
Yeah, I'm seeing win totals: Lions 9.5, Vikings 8.5, Packers and Bears 7.5.
Yeah.
That's some pretty middle of the road bookmaking there, it feels like.
Yeah, it was odd. And I feel like this one and the NFC South felt very similar looking into and really diving into them. Like there was just, I don't know a lot, like a lot of these guys. And there's some really young guys in this division too that I think these teams are really going to count on to play big time snaps.
Yeah,
and all of these teams, all of them have guys like that. And really, the oldest team I think is the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. And they've just lost. I mean, while we're talking, we might as well let's just start with the Vikings then.
Yeah.
They're the oldest team, but they did just lose kind of two big pieces this offseason, Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen. I think Thielen has definitely lost a step. And, some of that, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was just kind of getting overshadowed a little bit by Justin Jefferson. But I think he lost a step, and they replaced him with a guy we were just kind of, briefly touching on, Jordan Addison, who I think a lot of people have high hopes for. And then Dalvin Cook is replaced by Alexander Mattison, who every time I read a fantasy preview or did a fantasy draft, he was going high. So I think I don't want to say like I like them to be the favorites, but it wouldn't surprise me if they reeled off 10, 11 wins again.
Yeah. So let me ask you, since you kind of alluded to a little bit of it, who would you have in this division? And we'll talk more Vikings, but who would you have winning this division?
I think I lean the Vikings. I know the sexy pick is the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Lions. I like Dan Campbell. I think they're a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to kind of get behind. But they haven't won the division since 1993. They haven't won a playoff game since 91. Last year, they kind of did like the whole out of nowhere thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a little different when you're being pegged to be the team and like be the guys. And, Dan Campbell's whole thing has been like, kind of like running the underdog like card in the locker room. Like, does that work again this year? I just don't know. I don't love Jared Goff at quarterback. I still don't. I'm just not a believer in them, I guess you could say. Like, if they go out and play well and win the division, I'm not surprised, but I'm not hitching my wagon to them just yet. Like, I've still got some pause on them, and the Vikings just seem like a known product, and hell, the Vikings could fall off a fucking cliff this year. Like, every team's due for that sooner or later, and, the Vikings have been pretty solid for a good stretch in the NFC North here. So I would say the Vikings.
Yeah.
That said,
I'm a little more harsh on the Vikings, I think. I have them finishing with only 7 wins. And it was one of those things, is like I was telling when you were getting a beverage there, I was kind of alluding to, like, it was so weird. I almost had to just draw a line in the sand and be like, okay, I think they're going to just be this team. And let's just follow that schedule all the way through and think, okay, I think they win this game. I think they lose these 2 games and so on. And when I went down, I was trying to just stick with it. Like, I think they're going to be good offensively. I think their defense is okay. But I don't know if I trust Kirk Cousins enough, and I don't know if I love their run game. And, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne can only do so much, I think, after a while.
Yeah.
And they got TJ Hawkinson, too, who's a really good, talented tight end. But that
it
only
should be
get you
said.
so far.
It should be said they won 12 games last year and had a negative score differential.
Yeah.
Like they were minus on the year and went 12-5.
Yeah.
Like they got their asses kicked in a couple games.
And it worries me. That worries me. The Cowboys game in particular, they got their asses whooped against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
It just worries me. So I got them at 7-10, finishing third in the division. It wouldn't surprise me if they won this division. And if you like it and you go plus 260 on it, let it ride, man. But I'm not in love with the Vikings this year. I think it's starting to get over the hill a little bit. I love their young receivers, but I don't think as a team they'll have it this year.
I will say I don't love them either. Like I don't love making that pick. Like I feel like this is a pick when you're like, this one, that one, maybe. Yeah. Like I guess I'll do this because I have to take one. But I think I have two thoughts in my mind about the Vikings. They win the division at like 10-7. Or like you said, they go 6-11, 7-10.
Yep.
Could be worse. Like just fall off the cliff. I think the cliff is upcoming for them. But I think they got one more year that they sneak something together in kind of a weak division and kind of steal one.
Yeah, and you can go for it because this division is up for grabs. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Lions? 9.5 wins.
Yeah,
the
I got them
I'm seeing.
I lean the over, and I'll tell you why I think this division has a little bit of a chance too. Is the division they play the AFC West, which is good, but they also play the NFC South, which has a bunch of question marks. So I do think that kind of helps them a little bit. I really like what they've done in Detroit. And I'm a little higher on Jared Goff than a lot of people, I think. I think he's I don't know if I want to say top 10, but a top 12 quarterback in the league. And he can throw, man. He's been to the Super Bowl. Am I right? With the Rams?
Yep. Yeah, he went to that Super Bowl with the Rams when they lost to the Patriots.
When I said it out loud, it didn't sound right.
You're like, wait, hang on, am I right?
Yeah, it's like when you spell something, you almost have to write it down.
I think they scored 3 points in that Super Bowl.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
He's capable with the right things around him. And, man, it's really hard. I love Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Sam Laporta could be a really good tight end, and he's going to have to play lots of snaps at tight end. They don't have much behind him. They went with the Jack Campbell kid from Iowa, Brian Branch, the safety from Alabama. They're getting fast. Jamison Williams, the wide receiver there, is on that team. Amon St. Brown is a stud. Like, they have so much speed, and then also just enough of that punch of power where I think they love running the ball. I like what they're doing in Detroit, and it's scary to say, but I'm going with them at 10-7, and they're going to win the division. That's what I'm going with.
The Lions run the North. Jared Goff, 7 years in the league. He came into that awful Rams team in 2016. He was 0-7 that year. Since then, only one losing season. His first year in Detroit when they went 3-10-1. He went 3-10-1. He only played 14 games. Other than that, he's had winning seasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, capable is a good thing. I mean, he a little over 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Like, he's solid, 60, just shy of 65% completion percentage. Like, you know, maybe I'm not as high on him. I think, you know, maybe stats lie a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me to see these guys do well. I mean, I think there's really only one team in this division that surprises me if they do well, and it's the Bears.
Yeah. Me too.
I think the Bears stink.
Yeah.
I think Justin Fields is a stat filler, but I don't think he's a quarterback you win with in the NFL. Now, you could say that about a million quarterbacks who are develop their passing game a little bit and take the next step. And, you know, Lamar Jackson kind of almost looked like that originally, like he was going to fill up the stat sheet. And you really couldn't win with him in the playoffs, and I've come around on him, and I think he's going to be successful in the playoffs if he gets there this year. But I don't see it in Justin Fields. I think the Bears are kind of a train wreck of an organization. So I just have no faith in them. I see 7.5, and I'm hammering the under on that one.
Yeah, I like the under. I'm a little bit more high on Justin Fields. I got the soft spot for the Ohio State thing. But,
that's probably another reason why I don't like him. He's an Ohio State guy. So take what I said with a grain of salt too.
Yeah. So I got them at 6-11, finishing last. But I think it's a good. I think it's going to be a good stepping stone year for them. I think people are really rushing this whole Justin Fields needs to be this MVP caliber type player right now, and the team's not great. It's better than it was last year, to me. But to me, I don't think this is a championship roster of any kind, not even a division championship. So
no,
I think 6 to 7 wins is a good season. If they can maybe upset another team or two and maybe reach for the stars and get to 8 wins. If they're down at 3 or 4 wins, maybe if they really stink 2 wins or something, then they got to have a serious talk about what are we doing? We just traded for DJ Moore. We got this kid that we really were throwing the book at, and now all of a sudden we're only winning 2 or 3 games. They're going to have to really reassess things if that's the case. But I do think it's another year, and then if they can draft well, bring in some other free agents while Fields is still on his rookie deal, probably turn this thing around, and maybe next year during this time you and I are on here and we're talking about the Bears looking like the best team in the division.
Yeah, I mean they've got this year and then next year of that, the rookie pace deal, which, as I've said 100 times the last couple of weeks, that's kind of the mold. The one thing, I don't even know if this stat is real. I saw, and I don't even know, I'm trying to look for it while I'm kind of talking here. I thought I saw that the Bears led the league in rushing last year, but were last in passing. Hang on.
That's probably true.
Okay, I mean, there was back note for 20. Yeah, this is on CBS, CBSSports.com. The Bears finished first in rushing, 3,014 yards, and last in passing, 2,219 yards. Yeah, that's almost 800 more yards rushing than passing. That's the largest margin by any team since the 1978 Chiefs.
Wow.
That's not a winning formula for today's NFL.
There were games last year where Justin Fields could barely get 75 yards passing.
Yes. That's my big thing. It's
his over-unders last year, Wally, because I bet a couple of them for player props, was literally 106 yards. It wasn't much. But he'd rush for 100.
I just don't know that you can win a lot of games in the NFL, in today's NFL, with that kind of setup.
Yeah.
Well, you want the opening salvo on my Packers here?
I would love that, Wally. I would love it. So I'm going to be a little optimistic for you in anticipation that you might not be. And I have no idea. So the listeners out there have no idea what Wally's going to say right now, so just be ready. I have the Packers winning 8 games this year, slightly under 500. I think 8-9 is a decent year. It's Jordan Love season, and I think my scariness of the Lions with their youth, especially on defense and offense and stuff, their skill positions, it worries me in Green Bay too. Especially on offense. I know Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are there, and they're going to hold down the fort. I trust enough that their coaching staff's going to do okay with their offensive line because they've had trash offensive lines and somehow have kept Aaron Rodgers alive for forever. But I trust their coaching staff enough to win some games that they probably shouldn't. And I like some of their defensive pieces enough where they're going to keep some teams close to them. And if they can pull out a couple one-possession games, I think they're in the fight for maybe a wild card spot. I just don't quite think they get there. And that's kind of my optimistic take because I think 8 wins is a relatively good season for Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Love's first year as the guy.
I think Rodgers' first year was an 8-win season. Let me check that real quick.
I mean, they got a ton of tight ends that are rookies. They got, I love, Kenny Clark, Preston Smith.
I lied. Rodgers' first season was 6-10.
Yeah. Alexander, Darnell Savage, like they got some guys like on defense,
Mm-hmm.
like they're going to do all right. But offensively, whenever your quarterback's going from sitting behind a Hall of Famer to now it's his team, it's different. Like you kind of mentioned earlier, like it's a different pressure for the Lions being the top pick. Now it's your team, Jordan Love. Like there's some pressure there, so I'm worried. But I think 8 wins would be fantastic.
I think 8 wins would be good. I wish I had more to disagree with you on. I think that's kind of where they're at.
Yeah,
I think they're I'm looking at the schedule right now. I'm seeing 7 wins. I think they beat the Bears twice. They play the Bucks, the Panthers. I think those are wins. So there's 4. The Falcons is 5. They have the Saints at home. 6. Then you got the Rams, the Broncos, the Steelers. You can steal one of those.
Yep.
Maybe throw the Saints in there and you steal 2 of those. So I think there's 7 to 8 wins. Then they've got a couple of tough games like in New York. They host the Chargers. They host the Chiefs. The good thing is a couple of their tougher games hosting the Chargers, hosting the Chiefs. That's in Green Bay, and those are late in the year, so you have some weather. Obviously, Jordan Love is a huge question mark. You don't really know. I know I've been both pleasantly surprised and saw exactly what I think I was going to see in the preseason in both aspects. I'm like, oh, he's looked terrible. And I was like, that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then, especially the first preseason game. The first preseason game I thought was a pretty good kind of sum up. Like his first drive, he came out, he looked like dog shit. There's no sugarcoating it. He looked awful. I was like, God damn, this is what I was worried I was going to see. Next drive out, he looks great. Looks like a legit NFL top half of the league starting quarterback, like a guy you ride with for a few years. And I was like, wow, that is more than I expected. Yep. So I've got some optimism to me. And I've got some pessimism to me. There's question marks offensively. Is Christian Watson going to make the next step? Like he's going to get he's going to see the best corner, if not double coverage, help over the top. Like I think the game plan is going to be don't let Christian Watson burn us. Like make Romeo Doubs do something. And then the running backs, we just paid a ton of money to Aaron Jones. Can't be fucking fumbling in big moments anymore. Like he has had some crucial fumbles in the biggest moments in the biggest games the last few years. That can't fucking happen anymore. AJ Dillon, is AJ Dillon going to be more than 3 yards and fall over? I know he's had a couple of big games, but for too many times, it's like, oh, here comes fucking AJ Dillon up the middle, 3 yards, and he's rolling forward. Like, sweet. Like, be better. Yep. I think the biggest question mark outside of Love, obviously, is the defense. Like, this is a defense that gets talked about like it's a top 10 defense in the NFL. You mentioned some names. Like, you got Jair Alexander. You got Darnell Savage. You got Preston Smith still there. Rashawn Gary. Kenny Clark. Like, these are dudes who didn't produce last year. Like, the defense was a letdown last year. If the defense can keep this team in games and not force Jordan Love to have to go out there and sling it all over, hey, maybe an optimistic year is they can sneak 9 wins in somehow. I mean, if they steal a game here, steal a game there, like, it's possible. I don't think it's the case. I think 7 wins. I think if it's 7 wins, the status quo kind of rolls into next year. If it's 6 wins, I think it's probably the same thing. You start getting down to 5, 4 wins, I think there's serious discussion about taking a quarterback next year in the draft. I mean, and God forbid it's, 2 or 3, then I think it's fucking sell whatever you can and get enough capital to go up and get fucking Caleb Williams. But I don't see that happening. I think there's still enough talent on the team to be a mid-level team in the NFL. I don't think it's a Super Bowl winning squad, and I think that's been proven the last couple of years. Even the years they were good in the regular season, they weren't getting it done in the playoffs. But Yeah, 7 wins. All that to say, yeah, 7 wins seems about right, and I'm going to pretty much agree with you.
Yep.
And if they have a 9-win season, I'm pretty happy. Like if they get to 10, I'm fucking ecstatic.
Yeah. I mean that's coach of the year stuff right there. Like
Yes.
LaFleur he would be coach of the year if they got to 10 wins and made the playoffs. That there's no doubt. Unless some other team were to go 15 and 2, something like 15 wins or something, then maybe. But man, that would be incredible. And I was just actually thinking before you said that, I was like, man, if they win 2 or 3 games, that head coach might be looking for a job.
Yeah, I think if they win 2 games, it gets dicey very fast.
And I don't think they will.
If they're on no, I don't think that happens.
Yeah.
Now, if they go 6-11, and the defense is kind of a letdown again, I think Joe Barry has to go, the defensive coordinator. And if he doesn't, I don't know what the fuck they're doing in Green Bay.
Yeah.
This defense has been highly touted the last 3 years now. You have one of the best players in the league in Jair Alexander. God, that's a weird name to kind of roll together when you're trying to rip off words.
You're doing a great job.
But yeah, they've had him on the team for a few years now. Joe Barry has been a disappointment, if you ask me. And if his defense doesn't show up this year, and if it's not showing, I think he's on the hot seat to start the year. At least he should be. And if he's not, I'm questioning the leadership up in Green Bay. But I do that often. I often say to you and some of my other friends, Green Bay is one of the worst run franchises in the NFL.
Man, and I disagree, but
31 years with Favre and Rodgers, we've been to 3 fucking Super Bowls. That feels like a letdown, and now we're on to a new era where Super Bowls don't seem like they're just, at the fingertip out there anymore. It feels like they're more than an arm's length away now. So,
yeah. To me, man, I think that's a little harsh. If you think about, Pittsburgh, they're one of the better ran franchises in a long time who's also had 1 or 2 quarterbacks in the last 25 years, and they've only been to 2 or 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but really only 1, just Roethlisberger. It's not like they stacked Roethlisberger on top of somebody else.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is
but he went to 3. He went to 3 or 4. He go to 3 or 4
Super Bowls.
He won 2.
Yeah, I think
he won that first one when he was pretty much a rookie, and then they went to the one against Green Bay. Yeah, he won 2, and then he went to the third against Green Bay.
You're right, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it could be much worse. I always try to remind you of that, man, because,
Yes.
It can be.
I do get that argument that there's always worse out there. Yeah. And I do like to play the devil's advocate to that is I've gone through a couple of, shitty seasons where the playoffs really aren't in reach.
Yeah.
And it's one level of disappointment, but there is a whole nother level of disappointment to go to NFC title game after NFC title game after NFC title game and just lose them in the most fucking heartbreaking ways possible. The Seahawks getting fucking bum rushed by the fucking Niners. Beat by the Niners again when you don't give up a fucking single touchdown. Yeah. Fucking the Patriots when fucking LaFleur kicks the field goal. Won't let Aaron Rodgers fucking throw it at the end zone. There's just been different. It's different levels. Yeah, see, now you're fucking seeing it. I just have to lay it out there a little bit.
It's just a different type of hurt,
Yeah, it is.
That's all it is. Because trust me, when Quincy Carter and Vinny Testaverde and Drew Henson and who else we got? Ryan Leaf was a Cowboy for a little while.
Was he really?
Yeah, it was miserable. So, you got these guys coming over from baseball and, just trying to be the Cowboys quarterback. It can be bad. It can be really bad. So, tomato, I guess.
Oh, God, yep. So now that I've been on a rant for God knows how long, anything else you need to toss in?
No, I mean,
fantasy guys. What else you got?
Yeah, fantasy. I love DJ Moore, Justin Fields. I actually kind of love Khalil Herbert a little bit. I think he could be a nice little running back where he's getting drafted. I love the Gibbs and Montgomery thing. The running backs in Detroit they had a ton of, touchdowns and rushing last year. I think that continues this year. St. Brown, I think Sam Laporta for the Lions could be a good tight end to have, stash away maybe for a few games. Love Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, and I think the Addison and Jefferson duo in Minnesota could be very similar to like those Diggs and Thielen years, where they were both really, really good. I think that could be a good combo. I
think that's the best combo to look out for.
Yeah.
For sure in this division.
Yeah.
Possibly in the NFC.
Yeah.
I think upside, maybe not you know.
I mean, you still have your Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, never mind. That's the one. That's the one.
That's a big one. There's a couple, but that's definitely up there. And it could turn into one of the best because Justin Jefferson's already arguably the best receiver in the league. So you could see it that way. I don't love Chase Claypool in Chicago. I didn't like him in Pittsburgh. I don't love him.
I didn't get that trade when they did that.
I just think he's just a big, guy. Go up, catch a ball. I think he could have games where he scores 20 and then 3 weeks in a row where he scores 4.
Yeah. There's nothing more maddening than a guy like that.
Yeah, it's
where
insane.
You're he fucking scored 20 last week. He's on my bench. Yeah, send him in. 4 points.
My Brandon Ayuk the last 2 years. Alexander Madison, running back in Minnesota, I think could have a really good year, but I just haven't seen him be the guy for more than 4 or 5 weeks because Cook would always get hurt and he'd come in and be awesome.
Yeah.
But I do worry about is he going to make it 15, 16, 17 games? And my only really sneaky pick, and you kind of mentioned him a little bit when you're talking the Packers, I really like Romeo Doubs. And mostly because I do think a little bit of the Watson fear of him going over the top could play a factor, and it wouldn't surprise me if Dobbs.
And they're going to rotate those. They're going to rotate those tight ends in there.
Yeah,
and they do. And they do have. If Aaron Jones is in the backfield, he's a threat to catch the ball.
Yeah,
so I think there's a slot for him. He just has to fucking catch the ball.
Yeah, and I that is a fear. He's had some drops and stuff, but I think if he can be that guy that catches 4 or 5 targets a game, if he catches 4 catches for 65 yards or in a touchdown, there's a place
sneaks a touchdown in there.
Yeah, there's a place in fantasy, especially if you're in a 12-team league, PPR, maybe with an extra flex or something like we are. It could be a good little play, especially later in the draft. So
yeah, something where especially in a league where you're going to have 3 wide receivers, possibly 4 out there. I think you definitely find a spot for him.
Yeah, and I think bet-wise, I didn't really love a lot of bets that I saw from the NFC North. The only one I kind of liked. And this is scary just because I think they could win the division. But for me, if I was going to make a bet, it'd be to not make the playoffs. The Vikings are minus 122, which kind of tells me Vegas might not know either.
Yeah.
So to me, it'd be one where I'm probably not going to bet it, but it was one where I was like, that's one to kind of maybe keep an eye on. Maybe watch their first game or two, and if the line doesn't move too much, I wouldn't mind maybe jumping on that if it stays somewhere in that realm, I guess. But
yeah, I think the big consensus is about this division is nobody knows.
Yeah, do you think Packers make the playoffs?
No,
for real.
No,
minus 188. It's not great, but
wow,
yeah, it's not great.
It's not great, but it's not awful for a team that.
If it was like minus 150, 140.
I was going to say, if it was like minus 150, 140, I'd be all over it.
Yeah.
But even at minus 188, for a team that, and I don't even say that, trying to be really pessimistic, I think this division could be won with 9 wins.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I think you'll know a lot about the Packers really fast in the season. They have the Bears on Sunday in the late afternoon game, and then they go to the Falcons, and then they come back and host the Saints.
Yeah.
If they're going to be a team that's going to make the playoffs, they're winning 2 out of 3 of those, no doubt, and possibly all 3.
Yeah.
The Falcons aren't going to be very good, I don't think.
I think they could be the favorite in at least 2 of those. I think Is it at the Saints? I think the Saints game.
They host the Saints.
Okay, but even then, I think maybe
they could be the favorite in all three of those games.
Could be,
to be honest.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah,
I would say Saints Packers is probably pretty close to a toss up.
Yeah,
Packers get the rub of being at home, and the 3-point rub essentially is what they always say. And I think the Packers are probably a 1 or 2 point favorite going to Atlanta, unless whatever happens in Week 1. Bears might be slight favorites. That's a home game for them. So
yeah,
but yeah, they could be very easily be favorites. No, I wouldn't. Do they have the lines out yet? Probably at least tell you Week 1.
Oh yeah, they do. They have them.
Yeah,
on there.
Bears are 1 point favorites. So they're essentially calling that a pick 'em. They're just giving the Bears slightly for being the home team. So yeah. Anything else we've missed, MJ, in the NFC or AFC North or the NFL as a whole?
I don't think so, man. I'm ready to go.
I'm
ready
so
for
excited.
Thursday night. I'm ready for Sunday, Monday. Let's go. Let's bring it on. Let's see a big Cowboys win this weekend. Let's see, Green Bay can beat Chicago. I don't care. Let's just get it rolling, man.
Cowboys Giants as always on Sunday night. I feel like that game is the Sunday night game all the fucking
15
time.
years in a row, or so, it's not that much. It's not that, but it's a lot of years. Yeah, it's been a lot.
Oh, only one Monday night game this year again. That sucks. I like the double Monday night game.
So do I.
Let's put you on the spot. Super Bowl matchup and winner. Who you got?
Oh man, I'm gonna go in the AFC. Chargers Bengals in the AFC Championship.
Okay.
And I think this is the year the Bengals get to the Super Bowl. Well, get there.
I was going to take the Bengals as well.
Yep. NFC. Oh dear Lord.
This one's more of a shit show.
Yeah. I'm going to go. All right, I'm going to go classy. I'm going to be a homer a little bit. Cowboys, Niners.
Okay.
I think the Eagles go down early in the playoffs for somebody they shouldn't have lost to. Fuck it. Let's go. Cowboys, Bengals.
Do it.
And then Bengals win 34-31. Bengals win the Super Bowl this year. I think this is their year. I think Joey B's got it going on, and I think they got a good shot.
I got Bengals Chiefs in the AFC. I got Niners Eagles. I think the Eagles get back to the NFC title game. I am torn. If Brock Purdy isn't a pumpkin, I like the 49ers. If Brock Purdy is the pumpkin that Big E Sexton thinks he is, then I think the Eagles get back. Either way, I think the Bengals are your Super Bowl champions. At what fucking Super Bowl number are we at now?
I don't know.
54 or something like that. In February of 2024, Joe Burrow is holding the Lombardi Trophy high above his head, and I don't even know where it is this year.
Look out. So, I like just a couple other season things. I like Justin Herbert maybe possibly sneaking into the MVP conversation. I love Jalen Carter, the D tackle for the Eagles, to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I like I said, I'd love the Zay Flowers sprinkle. I think Jordan Addison for Offensive Rookie of the Year could be good too. But those are some Defensive Player of the Year. I'm rolling with him, man. Micah Parsons going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And I think it's going to be a big year for him. I don't know if I'm hoping the Cowboys can reach the promised land like I think they can. But Dak has to play really good, but Micah can do it almost on his own defensively sometimes. So he's kind of a good one for Defensive Player of the Year.
Didn't you hate when he got drafted?
I sure did.
Okay.
But
I just like to remind you of that. I just like to jab you with that every once in a while.
Let me stick up for myself really quick. You're not going to keep me up ever saying that. I hated where they drafted him. If it would have been pick 15 to 20, awesome. But to go back at 10 and get him at 10, I felt like was a little rich for what I thought was just going to be a middle linebacker to replace Jalen Smith. Mm-hmm. And that I didn't like that. Now that they were basically oh, no, he's just going to be an edge rusher. You go get your edge rushers in the top 10. That's what you do. So I'm okay with it of what they've done. But at the time, I was not thrilled at drafting a middle linebacker at 10.
I just have to give you a jab about that every once
God
in a while. MJ, I think we've covered it pretty expansively the last 4 weeks. So I appreciate you, man. We'll have you back on here in not too much longer. I know that for sure. So
I'd love to. Yeah.
Thanks again, dude. Really appreciate it. It was fantastic.
Thanks, buddy.
And, thank you. College football is back in full, and it was a great little primer for the NFL next weekend. I enjoy college football. I don't enjoy it the way I enjoy NFL. I fucking love the NFL. I will just watch every NFL game. Fantasy helps for that, for sure. I will watch a lot of college football games, for sure, but I'm not they're not all appointment viewing for me. Like, there'll be weekends I just won't watch if there's not a big game on. That said, there was some fun college football this weekend. And there was a pretty good game last night, Sunday night, LSU and Florida State. Tie game going into halftime, and then Florida State fucking blows the doors off them in the second half. I was in bed, not going to lie to you. I fell asleep shortly after Florida State scored their first touchdown of the second half, and it was all downhill from there for the Tigers. Go Tigers! But yeah, so that was like the first big game of the year. You know, preseason ranked teams, I believe 8 and 5. Not the best game of the weekend. The best game of the weekend was by far Colorado and TCU. TCU, the national champion runner-ups last year. I think they lost a ton of players, though. And they get into a game with Neon Dion's Colorado. What are they, the Buffalo? Colorado Buffalo. And holy shit, what a game that was. Let me look up how many players did TCU lose from last year. I think it's a lot. Well, the Fort Worth Telegram just shows me a picture. Looking for more than a picture. They lost Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson. TCU lost 8 players to the draft and also hit the transfer portal of 7 former SEC players. They lost a lot. They lost a lot from the national title team. Colorado, I've seen a number of reports. I can't figure out which one's actually right, and I don't care that much. It's fucking mostly all of the team. I've seen everything from Colorado brought in 86 new players. They lost 71. They brought 70 new in. I've seen 81 as a number. Whatever it is. It's the entire roster, essentially. They brought a whole new fucking group in, and they are off and running. And goddamn, what a fun game to watch. It was back and forth. There was touchdowns. There was interceptions. There was lots of touchdowns. Just crazy. Just a fun game, start to finish. The first game of the day that, the Fox Big Noon game starts at, 11 a.m. out here in the Central Time Zone. And we just were off and running. Shadur Sanders, 38 of 47 for 510 and 4 TDs. My man was slinging it. And then they had Travis Hunter, the guy who was playing both ways, played over something like over 100 plays, caught 11 balls for 119 yards. The stat line from the receivers for Colorado is silly. Edwards, 5 for 135 and 3 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, 11 for 119. Who's ex-Weaver? Xavier Weaver, 6 for 118. Jimmy Horn, 11 for 117. They had 4 guys go for north of 117 yards. Just absolutely bonkers. They had a couple other guys catching passes. Michael Harrison caught a couple passes, and another guy caught 3 passes. Then Shadur Sanders caught a pass, too, because why not? Why not? What else? What can't this kid do? So, yeah, that was a fun game. Dion said he's keeping receipts. Maybe. I love the fucking Dion swag and all, but maybe back it down just a smidge. You have a long road ahead of you. It was fun to watch, but there's a lot going on. They got Nebraska next week, kind of the renewing of an old rivalry, the old Big 12 rivalry, Nebraska and Colorado. So that should be a fun one. See if they can keep that up. Other fun games next week before we dive to Penn State. Ole Miss, number 22 currently at Tulane, and then number 11 Texas heads to Tuscaloosa, take on the Tide, Alabama, in the big game Saturday night next week. So let's talk some Penn State and Indy Lions here. That was fun. That was fun to see. Drew Aller was impressive. Coming into this year, there was a lot of talk that maybe this is the best Penn State team they've had since James Franklin has been there. Drew Aller seems to be by far the best quarterback, talent-wise, that Penn State has had, and the expectations were kind of creeping up through the roof. Drew Aller looks good. His first touchdown pass early in the game, when he was kind of moving up, running up in the pocket, and he kind of just flipped one out there. Might have underthrown him just a smidge, but he got it there, and that's a throw that I haven't seen a Penn State quarterback make in, I don't know. You tell me when. His second touchdown to the back corner of the end zone, the guy was wide open, but it was a great pass. It was like in the perfect spot. It'd be interesting to see if there was a receiver there. That said, they didn't look super sharp. I know it's the first game of the year, and it's a night game, essentially a whiteout. So first game of the year, it's some things to work through, and they've got Delaware coming to town next week. The tough Delaware. Well, I don't even know what the fuck Delaware is. Some sort of bird. The Fighting Blue Hens, here they come. They're coming to town next week, coming to the Beeve. An early game, the noon game. So hopefully they can work some things out. The kicking game left a lot to be desired. 2 missed kicks in the first half, I believe. That would have changed the dynamic of that game a lot. It was 14-7 at halftime. If it's 20-7, it kind of feels out of reach. The touchdown in the third kind of made it feel out of reach. Then they kind of fought back in the fourth a little bit. Somebody on the Penn State coaching staff had either the over or the fucking spread, because they made goddamn sure to go score that fucking touchdown at the end of the game to cover both of those before that ended. So, yeah, it was, I would say, I don't want to say met expectations, because expectations are high, but it wasn't a disappointment. It was a good win. I think West Virginia is a decent football team. I don't think they're going to blow the doors off anybody this year, but kind of like a rivalry game renewed after almost 30 years. So some pressure there, open the year on, in prime time with the whiteout. I know it was the helmet stripe, but it was just fucking the second whiteout. So meeting expectations, sure. It was a win. It was a double-digit win. Drew Aller looked good. There's definitely some stuff to clean up. The defense looked a little shaky in spots. I mean, they only gave up 2 touchdowns, so that's good. But hopefully they can kind of work everything out against Delaware. They got like a weird game going to Illinois in 2 weeks. That early game, so it's going to be at 11 a.m. in Illinois, so a little earlier. The time zone difference, just the day, but that's a game that could be a little weird. Like that could be a stumbling block. And then, the first kind of big test, it seems, is going to be Iowa at home in the real whiteout on September 23rd. So I think it's important to, figure shit out against Delaware, hopefully. Then don't get fucking tripped up by Illinois. Just don't let that happen. Don't get in a fucking close one. Don't have to fucking go score in the fourth quarter. Just get through those nice and easy, and then see. Iowa's not a huge test, but I mean, they are ranked. They did win. They did score fucking more points and have more yards than they fucking ever did in the first quarter this past week. I don't think they still scored a ton of points. They scored 24. I think I read that their offensive coordinator's contract is linked to them scoring averaging 25 points a game and having so many yards and some shit. So, yeah. So get through the stumbling block that is Illinois, beat Iowa at home in the whiteout. You got Northwestern and UMass before you go to Ohio State, which is going to be kind of the real test of things until then the later Michigan game. So there's 3 games on the 3 big games on the schedule: Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan, and there's a couple like trip-up games. Just don't get fucking tripped up. So, fun first night for Penn State, and fun first day of college football. Cleveland Guardians, not the worst week that they've had in a while. Go 4-2, win two series, beat the Twins in their series after dropping the first game. They win the next two. Fun game Wednesday that goes to extras, and Cole Calhoun hits an absolute bomb of a 3-run home run in extras to essentially win the game for them, and they close it out in the bottom of the 10th. And then a strong series against the Rays, really. I mean, the Rays still a solid team. I think they're still – let me pull up the standings here. I mean, are they still in the hunt? I mean, yeah, they're still in the hunt to win the AL East. They're only 2.5 games back of the Orioles. So, I mean, that's a strong team to take 2 or 3 from. They go into the 11th inning on Saturday night. Had a nice double TV setup going. Had Penn State and Cleveland on. So, you know, it was a good 4-2. The Twins go 3-3. The Rangers could have given us a little more help. You know, you take what you can get. So they make up a game, and then the Twins are back in town tonight. Monday night, the Twins are in town for, I believe this is the last time they play this year. Yes, this is the last time the Twins and the Guardians will play this year. The Guards have a tough kind of stretch coming up. They have a West Coast road trip after this at the end of the week, and then they stay out there to play the Giants at the start of next week. And then the Rangers come to town. They have the Royals again. Then they have to host the Orioles as well in a 4-game set. So that's all in September. And then they've got the Reds and then Tigers to close it out. So they're 5 back. They made up a little ground. They kept themselves alive. You know, win 2 more here and pick up another game. God, if you sweep the Twins, now we're talking. That would be awesome. That would be really, really awesome. The Twins then host the Mets. They have the Rays coming to town. They have the White Sox left, so that's not tough. They do have the Reds as well. They also have the Angels, but they have the Athletics late on the schedule. So it was make or break this week, and guess what? Pretty much everything's make or break. If they go on a losing streak, this thing's over. They got to keep winning games. What they got left? What's their record? They're 66-71. I need a calculator to do this math. 66 plus 71. It's 137. 106. They have 25 games left. They probably need to win what? At minimum, 17 or 18, right? 17 games. If they won 17, that's 83, so they'd be 83 and 79. Is that right? Yeah, 83 and 79. That means the Twins can only win 12 games coming up. So, it's probably closer to 20 games is probably the better. 20 for the next 25. I mean, they got to do a lot. And maybe the Twins can help us out and have a little collapse here in September. But it all starts today, Monday. You guys will be listening to this tomorrow. You'll know how it turns out. Win the first one. Make it count. You know, they're 5 back. So get it to 4 back. Get it to 2, 3 back. I mean, if they could find a way to sweep them, be 2 back. This thing's fucking on. So, yeah. Oh, the Guards also picked up a bunch of dudes off of waivers from the Angels. I believe one of them is going to be starting tonight. Yeah, this Lucas Gigliotto, whatever. He's starting tonight. So he's starting. Cal Contrail came back off the injured list. Naylor was back off the injured list. So they're kind of getting a couple little pieces here just to make one last little sustained push. So we'll see. It's enough to keep it interesting, enough to keep my eyes on it. So yeah, looking forward to one. Let's just fucking sweep the Twins. Let's just do that. What do you say? What do you guys think? Some passing thoughts, like a full passing thoughts that you guys haven't had in a while? So the weather here in the upper Midwest has been interesting. It's hot as shit this weekend, this Labor Day weekend, and it's disgusting. It's like 97 degrees. Actually, that's it. It's not actually that bad. There's no humidity because I was like outside a few times yesterday. I'm like, this isn't awful. And I was letting the dog out at like 9:30 last night. And I saw on my phone, it's like 82 degrees out. I'm like, I'm going to walk outside and just get hit in the face with disgusting. Wasn't that bad. I was like, oh, if I was just sitting out here on the porch on my deck drinking some beers, like, I wouldn't hate this. I'm not going to choose to be out here, but like, you had a bunch of people hanging out there. Not bad. But yeah, still looking at 94 and 91 today and tomorrow. But then after that, the weather turns to fall. Thursday's going to be a high of 68. Then we have highs of 72, 77, 78, 72, 70, like highs in the low to mid 70s. Nighttime temperatures getting down into the low 50s, high 40s. It's just overnight it's changing. The times be a changing. So, but it is nice to be back home after my travel around the country. This past, why the pods were all fucked up was I was on the road for a while. First off, had to get down to the outskirts of Philly. Coach Jeffy, no longer Coach Jeffy. He's what's he call himself now? Fundraiser Jeffy? I don't know. Whatever. He's got a new gig. I had to attend his wedding. You saw me dressed up in my wonderful looking suit. That thing went off without a hitch. That was fantastic. Then from there, we weren't coming back to Wisconsin. We were just staying in Pennsylvania. Had to head up to Bradford County for the TCC invite. Just another poor performance by me in that. So, that's how things go. But that was a fun trip all in all. And then we got on the road and hit it 13 hours back the Monday after that. Final tally on the road trip, we covered, I think it was 1,900 miles. And I think something like 41 hours of drive time, all told. Also on that trip, we hit Hershey World at Hershey Park, Chocolate World at Hershey Park. Hit that up, had some time to kill one day. Got some of the secret Hershey Park Chocolate World only flavors of candy bars. They were delicious. It smells so wonderful in there. That just like Chocolate World and like the surrounding, like the food court and everything they have there is pretty cool. It was a good way to kill a couple hours before we could get into our hotel. So that was pretty fun. A couple of RIPs here. First off, Jimmy Buffett, I saw had passed away, wasting away again in Margaritaville. Every time I think of Jimmy Buffett, I think of The Rock and Stone Cold singing Margaritaville in the ring, and then The Rock hits Stone Cold at the rock bottom right before Survivor Series in 2001. Just fantastic. I think I watched that live as a kid. If not, I had seen the replay shortly thereafter. I've seen it a million times since. So, and then everybody's favorite buddy on sick days from school, Bob Barker, the man, the myth, the legend, leading Price is Right. That was, if you were home from school, you just kind of bunked in on the couch, got yourself some chicken noodle soup, and got ready for Bob Barker. Or if you're just fucking faking it and you're like, I just want to stay home and watch Price is Right today. Here we go. So RIP to both of those guys. Yes, RIP. Next on my list of things, Mitch McConnell, again, has some issues speaking. Just can't do it. Just stops. I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know about this dude. Like, we're just going to keep trotting him out there. I mean, that's obviously what we're doing. I mean, we're doing it with him. Biden doesn't know where the fuck he is. Dianne Feinstein. Have you guys seen her? Have you seen her? I mean, these fucking people. At what point are we going to be like, you know what? These guys are too old and fucking incompetent. I mean, we've got them on both sides of the aisle here. I mean, Feinstein. I mean, shit. Nancy Pelosi seems to have it with her, but she's like 80-something too. I mean, Jesus Christ. Can't we? Come on. There's fucking, at least, hey, if we're going to have incompetent people out there, at least make them like fucking 60-year-olds. Is that a fucking possibility? Is that a possibility? If not, maybe we should just reassess. I don't know when this was exactly. This might have been 2 weeks ago. Nebraska, they played a volleyball game at their football team. It had 92,000 people for a volleyball game. That was pretty cool. I've seen a lot of volleyball in my life. and have been to many countless high school games and a number of college games as well. That was pretty cool. Like, that's pretty sweet to see 92,000 people show up to a football. There's nothing to do. Those were the fucking dumbest jokes. Lincoln's a cool town. Lincoln is a really cool town. Omaha's a cool town too. That's a little farther away from Nebraska, but that was pretty cool. What seems not cool is what's happening at Burning Man. Everybody's stuck out there still. I don't know. I think there's like 70,000 people were stuck because it started to rain and the roads got muddy and you couldn't pass them. I know there was the thing of Diplo, the DJ. He had to hitchhike his way out of there. That sounds fucking so miserable. First of all, going to something like that sounds so fucking miserable. I don't need to be anywhere with 70,000 people. That said, I fucking go to fucking a Penn State tailgate. And, but 2 days, in on Friday, out on Sunday, like, that's plenty. I don't need to be there any longer. Can you imagine getting fucking stuck somewhere and, like, fucking water's running out and it's all fucking muddy and you're fucking camping in a tent? Fuck that noise. That's definitely not what I need. I would never go to fucking Penn State and camp in a fucking tent. We always had a fucking shitty-ass motorhome to sleep in, at least. But, yeah, getting stuck at a fucking festival like that and you're just stuck out there and you can't fucking go anywhere. You're running out of fucking water. I mean, it's in the middle of a fucking desert. Sand. Ugh, it's the middle of a fucking desert. And they're just stuck. Sounds awful. What have I been watching lately? Been catching up on Jack Ryan. I'm through like 4 episodes of that now. I think of 6. It's solid. Like, if you like kind of spy shows, kind of espionage, that kind of shit, it's decent. Not going to write home about it. Probably not rewatching this show ever again, but it's worth a watch if you got nothing else going on. The roommate and I have been watching the Harry Potter series. We are almost through 4 movies. We stopped the 4th one last night. But yeah, been enjoyable. So been catching up on those. I think that's about it. So we'll go wrap this thing up. What do you say? Okay, everybody, closing time. Let's go wrap this thing up. First of all, thank you guys. Appreciate all you. Thanks for sticking around while the episodes were a little wonky. Thankfully, MJ and I had pre-recorded some things to get us through this kind of whole week, but whole couple weeks. So, but thank you for waiting around. Everything's back to normal. So thank you to everybody. Thanks to producer Kevy, as always, for getting the thing to air. We are back next week, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we're back. It's week 1 of NFL football to talk about. It is very possible, I want to put this out there, it is very, very possible that we move to a Wednesday release with football season starting. Just the time it takes to get the stuff edited and uploaded and things like that. It may make more sense to just go Wednesday release as opposed to Tuesday. So just if it doesn't come out Tuesday, I'll let you guys know. But it's very, very, very possible that moving forward, we're going to go Wednesday release from here on out, at least for football season. And plus, if there's a game on Sunday night, then recording an episode. So we'll see. I may try Tuesday once or twice, but it's possible and more than likely that the pod's going to start being released on Wednesday. So, all right, we're back next week. Till then, everybody, peace.